Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Totally Indian Football Show. And I must tell our listeners that this episode is being recorded on 8th of March at 8 p.m. But unfortunately, you're listening to this episode on the 16th of March. But hey, on the Totally Indian Football Show, we are celebrating the entire month of March for women and also for men who invest in women's football. And I must introduce my dear guest today. Gives me immense pleasure to have her on the show. And it's been a while that I've been chasing her. I mean, actually, not chasing her, but I wanted to share her story some way or the other. But we did have her speak about, what is the sports scientist, or what's the role like, and what is it like in our series for HOIF Masterclass. And since then, we've now got her. She's a sports scientist. She's a football coach. She's been a player before. She's a lot of things. And today, I must say, if I make any mistakes, apologies, because I have no notes in front of me, no books, no nothing. It's going to be a pure chat. I think it's going to be a catch up after a very long time on the show. And you guys, you listeners, just get to be part of this. That's all. My guest is Durva Vahia. Welcome to the show, Durva.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Of course, are you ready to speak till tomorrow morning?
Of course, I'm very chatty, so it's going to take a long time.
Great. Durva, how many roles? What all you do? Like I said, I have no notes. I have not even done my homework, and I'm shamelessly saying that out loud, which I'm not happy about. But I wanted to keep it a very clean slate and ask you, even if it's a random question, but just ask you and get to know from you about you, right? So I know that you've been a player. You were with Bodyline FC. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then, as when you were playing, and you were a good player, I must say, how did the whole change into coaching come about? Like, how is that interest, and how did the shift happen?
So it's quite one of those stories that just kind of you try out things until they work. So when I was playing, obviously I really enjoyed it. It was the best thing in the world. I thought I was going to be the next Hope Solo. Obviously, I had no idea that I wouldn't be. So you know the story as well as I do. Indian football is not a professional setup for women. And so when I was about, I don't remember, about 18, I just knew that if I wanted to be a professional athlete, if I wanted to be a professional football, I couldn't sustain myself in India. So I knew that the US had this massive, massive infrastructure and system and structure set up for women's sport. So I decided to just really push my luck and try out. And I was really lucky to receive a sports scholarship. And I played in the US for a year at an NCAA Division two team. And it was one of the most brilliant experiences of my life. It was insane. It was chaotic, but it kind of just helped me realize what it takes to be a professional footballer. And then I kind of also realized that I'm never going to be Hope Solo. The levels above us by in every way imaginable. But it did kind of show me that it kind of gave me a pathway of what I need to do to get to the national team, for example. So I came back after my year in the US, having grown leaps and bounds. And then I was lucky enough to get a call with the national team, and I was with them for about a couple of years as part of the reserve squad. But again, it's the same thing. And at the same time, I just finished my bachelor's in chemistry. That was also kind of one of those things where I had a bargain with my family. So I come from a academic scientist family, and the bargain was that you can do as much football as you want as long as you're doing science. And I was like, cool, that works for me because I really enjoyed science. I absolutely loved it. I had some great teachers along the way. I grew up in an environment where everybody spoke science. So I really did enjoy it. And it seemed like a fair bargain for me. So I kind of just decided to keep studying, finish my bachelor's, was still playing, was with the national team. And then I kind of hit a wall. I was just like, what next? Again, like I said, the national team camps were about 6 weeks in duration. They'd be one or maximum two a year. It would be in run up to the tournament. And you just kind of know that with the rest of your time, you train, and you have really not enough opportunities. And I just randomly came across something called sports science when I decided to. So basically, after my bachelor's, I decided to explore, right? And I was like, where do I go? What do I do? And I wanted to stay in this field of sport. So I got lucky. I got an internship as a coach with Manchester United Soccer Schools. And that kind of really opened my eyes to professional coaching. I didn't know it was an option. I realized it is an option, and I started doing my coaching badges. Absolutely loved it, enjoyed it so much. And it was kind of a perfect balance where I was coaching, I was playing, I was just able to do everything that I wanted to. I coached in Maharashtra teams, the youth teams. Still till today, one of the best coaching experiences of my life was just coaching those girls for like about 4 years. And but then again, right, where do you go? What's next? And I've just always been very like curious and driven by nature, and I want more answers. I want to understand more, and that's what I kind of randomly was googling stuff on one day, sitting on the internet, saying where do I go with this, and I found that there's something called sports science, and it kind of answered a lot of these unanswered questions that I had about. Okay, I understand how we coach the players, but are we physically developing them? Is this the right physical training that we can do? And so I went to UK, and it was a nice mix because again, when I was in England, I was doing my masters in sports science. I was interning as a sports scientist at our club, Exeter City, and I also got to play at a very high level. So I played for the university, which is a step up from where I was playing back in Bombay. And then I was also, so obviously their systems are a little bit more structured, nothing like the US, but they're a lot more structured. And we had scouts coming in for our trainings, our games, and then I got picked to play for the Exeter City Ladies Club. And that was really, really, really cool. And I really enjoyed it, loved every second of it. And I also realized that sports science is kind of my favorite thing to do because it's so much thinking, so much planning, so much of just really it's a zoomed out approach to sports development, and it really just kind of seemed to fit in together. But again, right then I finished my degree, I come back, and then I was just saying, now what do I do? And then I went back to coaching with the national women's team, so the under 17 and the under 19 girls. I was assistant coach there, and I think that was kind of where everything came together. That was the first tournament where I was with Alex Ambrose and we were with the under 17 and 19 girls. And we started using sports science. And for me, that was kind of the biggest challenge. Like, look, I've been in England. I see how detailed they are in everything they do. I see to what extent they include sports science at every level of training. Can I bring that back to India? Can I bring back even a little bit of that to India? And we found a lot of success with the girls. We were able to really manage their load, develop them, increase strength and conditioning sessions with them, and you can really see the results start coming up. And then it was just really, really great to work with these girls, see them improve so quickly, so well. And then I joined Young Champs in 2018, and so for the first couple of years, I just did sports science. And like I mentioned in that session, we kind of covered all the pillars of it, developed the kids, and yeah, so the beauty of sports science, I mean, the beauty of Reliance Young Champs is that we have them for the whole year. It's a residential program. So that's kind of where we were able to really develop a long term program, develop a sustainable system that kind of just works through the development stages of all the kids from all age groups. And it's really comes together quite nicely, right? If you have the right kind of coaching experience, you have the right kind of playing experience, you have the right kind of sports science experience. If you can really bring it in and bring it to the kids and just help them improve, it's really, really, for me, it's just one of the best things to do.
I'm like, wow, I mean, you can keep going for the rest of the show. But you have me on the other side. So, it's less competition. Well, that's like a lot of knowledge inside your brain, because I'm sure, I mean, you got in your genes. You said your family is very academic driven. But I'm just looking at the amount of knowledge you've gained over the period, whether it's about the game, whether it's about certain aspects, whether it's coaching, sports scientists, because yes, what the same thread is football, whether it's football coaching or sports science, but there are different nuances and different approaches to it. Now, before I come and dwell more into the sports science bit, you mentioned that you had joined as an intern at the United Soccer Schools. That was before you could start any batch?
Yeah, so I think that was kind of just really lucky. I kind of came back from the US. I was still kind of reminiscing, missing it, and so I went up to Manchester United Soccer Schools. I did a module there. In fact, I trained for a month, and that was where I didn't even want to do it. I didn't want to coach. I hadn't thought about it, to be very honest. And they sat me down and they're like, "Look, you don't have to make any long term commitments. You don't have to do anything. Just turn up." and just learn along the way, see how you feel, see how you like it. And I loved it. And so then they encouraged me, then, why don't you try out? Why don't you get your coaching badges then? And so that's when I actually, after a couple of months working with MUSS, I did my first coaching badge. So I did my D license. It's so long ago that we didn't even have a grassroots license. So we didn't even have an E license. That's how old I am. But after that, we had, in fact, did have a grassroots course, which was about 4 5 months after my D license. And that was the first actual grassroots course in India because it was still one of those pilot projects. So then after that, I started picking up my badges. So I finished my D, my grassroots badge, my C license, all while working there. And then I took a break. I went to England, did my sports science, and then came back and did my B, and now I'm doing my A. So it was a lot of, it wasn't, that's what I meant when I started by saying it was a lot of different experiences. So I'm not taking the traditional route of doing everything in time, doing everything by a certain timeline. It's just kind of, I've taken a lot of diversions and detours to go and really try out different things to really figure out what it is that I really enjoy the most.
Yeah, and I think we are in a period of time where people are just breaking traditions and not following a certain particular sector each certain way. And like I said, I'm going back to the knowledge that you've immensely gathered throughout each experience must be really helping you at this point, right, to shape your personality, your character. Now, take us through probably your coaching badges, right? There are very fewer women coaches that are part of, every set of coaches that come for courses around 24 to 30. And out of that, there are only few, like you can usually count maybe 2 to 3 max. So, how was that experience like throughout the badges? I mean, you've done till B and currently you're undergoing A. We'll come to that as well. Take us to that journey. I mean, you're surrounded by men around, and then how is it like? Learnings from each other. How do they respond to certain things when you're there around, and the adding knowledge that you've brought into picture, and share us your experience through the courses that you've done.
So I'm obviously going to talk about this from a perspective of being a woman at a course. It's tough. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want to discourage anyone, but you just got to be prepared to know what you're going into. I think my kind of suggestion, first thing, my piece of advice would be just find mentors, find people you trust and respect and who will support you and really be there with you through the journey. Because it, like you said, right, it's different. It's still unusual. You'll still find only 1 or 2 women in the courses. And it's just, in those kind of things, there's a lot of subtle ways that it's not the most comfortable experience sometimes. But then again, you do what you love and you've got to just push through, right? Sometimes it's just about resilience because we know that we do it now. So I also want to just also explain that I'm not the first one who's done it. We've had so many women before me who've done this, made this possible, which kind of made me feel like I could do it, right? I stand on the shoulders of women before me, and I want to make sure that the women after me stand on my shoulders and my shoulders are sturdy. And we have to, the kind of objective is that every generation does better than the generation before them. So that's kind of where I get my drive to kind of really push through things. I think in terms of experiences, of course, I've had some fantastic experiences. I've met some fantastic people. In fact, I worked with Alex Ambrose and I did my first C license with him. And I think you don't underestimate the impact those relationships and those work experiences have in your future life, because you never know when you're going to turn around and do something together. And I think because these licenses are so condensed, they're very intense, right? Because they're a short period of high intensity work. It really bonds people together. It really shows you the best and worst side of people sometimes. And that can always be a good thing and a bad thing. I think the good thing is it really shows you in the future what kind of people you want to work with. It helps network. And it also kind of just bring this bond together, right? Because it is a tough experience. There's a lot of pressure. It's designed to be a high pressure situation as well. So I think I've had some fantastic experiences. But I've also been extremely lucky that except for my D license, all my licenses I've done with Savio. And Savio sir has just been such a perfect mentor. And I think what's the most beautiful thing, and that's why I started with saying find your mentors who you trust. It's because I remember Savio Sir from my C license, and I see him now, and he continues to grow every year. And it's not just all empty talk. He expects the highest level from us, and he continues to grow. And when you see someone who's growing continuously and consistently, it kind of pushes you as well, and it makes you want to be better. So I think in my licenses, I've been really lucky to first of all do it all of them under him. I've had great mentors who've really supported me through the process, either on the course or off the course. And it can be tough. You're kind of alone a lot, and your experiences will be different. And it's something as simple as logistics, right? Where do you stay, the accommodations? It's just as simple as the smallest of the things that really make a lot of difference. For example, you have the accommodation is set up and is designed for twin sharing. And if you don't have another woman on the course, it just gets doubly expensive unless you have a way out. And a lot of the times, these things come to you at the randomest times, and you have group projects. So there are a lot of like smaller things. The manageable, of course, you've got to push through. And I'm hoping that in the future, these things are such a routine part of discussion that there's accommodation and inclusivity everywhere. But yeah, key takeaways from courses: find your mentors, learn from people. And the best, the most important thing that I wish I had learned sooner, just be open. I think a lot of times we go in with this desire to prove ourselves, and because of that, we're not open to really learning and listening. And just don't do that. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just go there with the mindset that you really want to learn, and that's really where you get the best. And I've seen it myself. I've seen it with my colleagues. The minute we try to just do more than we are at that point, or the minute we try to prove ourselves instead of actually trying to learn, that's where you lose the plot of what the course is designed to do.
Yeah, I'm sure those points were definitely helpful for those, tuning into this episode and listening and wanting to probably become coaches or thinking of taking up these badges. And you mentioned Savio Sir. I mean, I've also had the pleasure to work alongside with him while I was with AIFC. And, I remember talking to Richard, an interview that never came out, but hopefully one day I'll put it out, where he mentions about Savio Sir as he calls him the true patriot. The man has played for the country, coached for a couple of years, and then now he's the head of coach education. He's like giving back to society by churning out coaches, and it's a tough task. We've seen it. I mean, people who it's not easy for whatever decision that come out from there, and absolutely kudos to him. Hopefully, I can have him also on the show very soon. But Durva, how has your experience been working with kids at the Young Champs program? Because that again was again a shift, right? You're not doing normal football coaching. You have coached the women's teams and everything, and then now you come to a different setup. You're not doing football coaching, but more of sports science, working along with all of those things, strength and conditioning, and all of the other aspects that you mentioned. How is it with the kids? Because either it can be too extremes, right? It can be too much fun, or it can be too difficult as well. But making them understand what we are doing. What were their questions like, if there were any, while you were doing all these sessions, and how were they in terms of receiving all of this?
Um, yeah, I think it's. I know you asked whether it's too much fun or it's too tough. I think it's both. It's really both. So I'll give you a little snippet about what the environment at Young Champs is. It's an elite youth academy. Something I did have the experience of working in England before. So I have worked with elite athletes. What's different about Young Champs, which I had underestimated, is the fact that it's a residential academy. So the demand on the staff is a lot higher. Understandably so. You have you're their family, you're their parent, you're their support, everything. It comes down to us being there for them all the time. Um, I think I think it worked. And one of the key reasons I can very confidently say that is because I moved from the role of a sports science to the head of performance department. And so what started with just me working as the department, which was just me as sports scientist, we're now a department of three that I'm leading. So clearly we've done something right. Clearly we're getting something right. I think it's actually, honestly, the boys love it. Uh, so we also have a learning line that's catered to each age group, right? So our learning line will be more fun for the younger ones. because we want them to just learn movement competencies. It's more about just being able to move and efficiently in all planes of movement. Then we got to get to the older ones and becomes a lot of about your actual performance metrics, your speed, your agility, your strength, your power, your endurance, and those kind of things. I think the program has been designed to kind of address the needs of each age group. And therefore, in terms of the boys' buy-in, there is that buy-in because we look at all of these aspects. We look at how old are you, what is your cognitive age, how are you, what is your emotional state, what is your mental state, what is your growth and maturation, what is your bio age. Looking at all of these things about the player, we design the training programs. So we haven't had a situation where a kid's in over their head where they don't can't cope with the session because we've already kind of anticipate that because we have such an extensive screening and testing protocol. So I think in that sense, it's been pretty different. What's really interesting, and I think kids are very adaptable, and kids are just brilliant. They want to learn, they want to do more. They're just always enthusiastic, especially if knowing that they're at Young Champs, it's a professional environment. So they already know they're working to a dream, and they're all extremely disciplined. So we will never have an issue where a kid won't turn up for training because they want to train. What the kind of difference is, especially in the last year when I took over as head of performance, is we started including strength and conditioning a lot more into the training program. I think more than the players, it was a staff change that we had to work through because you have to redesign your training sessions, you have to redesign your time allocation. The entire program changes a little bit. It's new. Strength and conditioning is still kind of, how do you even say it? It's still kind of relatively new in Indian football in the sense that it's not included into the program as much as early as it needs to be. So it was a lot of changes on those front. I think there was a lot of education. Like we've had so many conversations with the boys, with the staff. Communication is key. I think the boys kind of just accept they're like, fine, as long as we trust you and we love you, like we know what you're doing, we're fine. Because I think the boys just need to know that we care about their development and we want their development. And then they kind of just say, okay, you know what? We don't understand anything you just said, but we do what you told us because we trust you. So I think that has been the biggest winning point for us. That's kind of where we got the best kind of support and buy-in. And what also, I mean, I don't want to take all credit for the interpersonal skills. It's not just that we in this as a staff are doing well. I think it's also the boys are seeing improvement. And they see that they're getting faster. They see that they're getting stronger and by a lot. And I think that's really helped kind of get that buy-in into sports science and strength and conditioning and those kind of things. I think one thing uniquely that we do, which we still struggle to really get the full buy-in is biobanding. So we do biobanding at Young Champs. And that is really, really one of our most interesting experiences because boys don't really understand biological age. So we've had like a lot of kind of education through that thing. And I think now we've got to a point where they've done it enough, they see it and they understand it. But that's what I mean. Kids are fantastic. If they understand that you care about them, they will put in their efforts. And they have been just phenomenal in understanding what we're trying to do with them, how we can help them. And what our main objective is for them and to just really understand that it's not about this week or this year, it's about your long-term goal. So we don't want you to be professionals at 18. We want you to be able to play till you're 27, 28, 30, whatever it is, as long as physically possible. And so they don't like some of the decisions we make sometimes, which is understandable. But I think they do understand that it's because we don't want short-term goals. We're very specifically not looking for short-term goals. We want long-term goals where we want them to have sustainable careers. But I think kids are just brilliant. They do understand that over time. Of course, they're upset sometimes, but they kind of they understand if you spend enough time explaining it to them.
Yeah, no pain and no gain, right? So I'm sure one day they'll definitely understand what Durva ma'am and all the other coaches did for them at their young age. Now, coming to the current phase, and you share a very good news on your social media platforms. I think that made all of us, a lot of people, happy and proud. I'm just going to read out the screenshot that you share of a tweet by FIFA.com. FIFA has selected 47 talented female coaches from 27 member associations. representing all six confederations as part of its coach education scholarship program, designed to increase the number of female coaches working in football. And I must say, this is a great initiative that they've given out, and so proud that Durva, you are one among them, and you're at the point undergoing that course. Tell us something more. What is this about? What's this program like, and what's the scholarship like, and how is it going? You are done with the first module, and tell us something more.
So, first of all, thanks so much. It is so exciting. I'm not even going to underplay it. It is very exciting, and I'm extremely grateful to AFF for recommending my name. Is just I'm looking forward to it. I'm buzzing, and one of the reasons is representation. I see so many women at the top doing such phenomenal work, and it is exciting for me because I finally have role models to look up to. And that's not to say we haven't had role models in the past, but I get to interact with these role models. I get to talk to them, I get to learn from them, I get to grow with them. And honestly, that has been my big philosophy: find mentors, find people to help you and guide you. And I'm just really, really lucky that now I can call these people my mentors and I can really learn from them. And I think this again goes back to what we talked about a little earlier about representation and how women are underrepresented in coaching licenses. And don't underestimate the power of just representation. So just seeing these people shows me that I have a pathway that I can take. And you know, it's just amazing. We've had a couple of we've had me and Amulya, of course. She's also been selected in this program. So it's a mentorship where we get to speak one on one with our mentor for the next 6 months, as often as frequently as we need to, as much as we want to. And I think the idea is to just get more women into coaching licenses, get women into courses, really just kind of increase the number of women who do this. And I'll also tell you personally, I think it's a great initiative because, to be very, very honest, I don't think I would have pursued my A license right now. And I would have always kind of just waited for the right moment, but there never is a right moment, right? Sometimes you're just delaying something for the sake of it. And I think this scholarship has really pushed me to do it. And I'm just really, really grateful. And I'm really looking forward to it. So currently, it's just now it started launched in March, and which is why the press release was in March. So the cost looks amazing. We get a lot of conversations, and the beauty of this is not everybody has the same skill set. I might be better at something and worse at something else, and the mentor I speak to might have other skill sets. So the beauty of this one-on-one mentorship is that I can get whatever I need from it. So I can learn from the right mentor, and it can be very personalized. So a lot of times you do courses and they teach you all of these things, but then you have these 100 questions in your head about, but what about me? What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? But should I take this job? Should I switch this job? I mean, obviously, you have these questions growing up. Should I do this course? Should I do the next course? What should my next step be? How do I develop? How do I grow? And I think having someone invest that time and sit you down one on one really help you grow and understand through the process, and such established people helping you do this, it really kind of obviously personalizes the experience. It helps me really find a catered program, find like this individualized space where I really understand where I can improve, what I need to do. And the beauty of it is it's a nice 6 months of just lots of frequent conversations. So I'm really, really looking forward to really growing and learning from that. So hopefully in 6 months again, when we chat, I'll give you more details on how it went.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there will be a lot more to talk about then, right? Uh, I know you're in this phase at this point, you're undergoing a course. So I'm not sure. Maybe this question I should ask you 6 months down the line. But still, let's say the 6 months are done. What's next for Durva? I think the question of what next is not just is something that doesn't leave us even if we are grown ups, it's something that we constantly ask ourselves, okay, where are we at this point and what do we do next? So, how do you see yourself post undergoing this course and where do we see Durva?
Not a clue, no idea. And unfortunately, just so it's one of the things, right? I love planning, I love structure, I love kind of having those 5 year goals and 10 year goals and where do you see yourself? And I loved doing that when I was 18 and 19. But unfortunately, as you grow up, you kind of realize that that's all just nonsense and it's never going to happen, and life is never expect goes as expected. And I'll give you an example. So I finished my master's in sports science. I broke my knee. I came home for surgery. I was recovering. I was doing rehab at home. And I remember just thinking to myself, saying, what now? Where am I going? What's going to happen? And I was just this ball of anxiety, stressing, just trying to figure out what do I do next. Because I'd finished a degree, a very expensive degree from a very, very good college, and I really loved it. And I was just sitting at home with a broken knee. And I was just like, what happens now with my life? And I couldn't see beyond a week. And then my supervisor back in UK said, why don't you really apply for this conference and present your research? So I went to Ireland and I presented my research at the European College of Sports Science. And then we got the research published. And then I again went back to sitting on my bed saying, what do I do next? And I remember, just I went for the AIFC conference and I reached out to people. And then just randomly one Wednesday night, I remember, I think it was 8:30 in the night. I remember this so distinctly because it was such a big moment for me. I got a call saying, how would you like to be an assistant coach with the national team? And I was just floored. I was like, yes. And literally, I think it was a week later or less than, I was with the national team under 18 girls team. And it was a short assignment, right? So it was a 2 month assignment. And then again, the 2 months start coming to an end, and you're like, but what now? And again, I just randomly at the AFC conference met Mark Avasan and Yash Patel, and they were with Young Champs, and I had known them from my time in Mumbai City. So it was just a catch up, and they were like, where have you been? And I was like, oh, I did my master's in sports science. And they're like, oh, why don't you come, visit us and interview for us? And I mean, we're looking for a sports scientist. And I hadn't planned for this. I hadn't thought about it. And that's kind of why I'm saying that I don't know where I'll be in 6 months, because I've just never planned for it. Like when I left for my master's, I was quite aware that I really don't know what my opportunity is once I'm done with the degree. I just did it because I really, really wanted to do it. And so I think what I like to do is just control the controllables, do what you can, do your best. Sounds like a cliche because it is, but it, honest to God, has helped me. It helps me kind of just really zoom into what I need to do, control that, and then you really never know what's going to come your way. You don't know what's going to happen in next month, next 2 months, next 3 months. But I mean, it's just for sure in the next 6 months, I will have come out of a FIFA program, and I can guarantee you I will be extremely excited from after that. I'm sure I would have loved it. And hopefully, if all goes well, I'll have an A license by then. And hopefully, Young Champs will be doing as well as ever. So that's really all the guarantees I can give. But apart from that, really no idea.
Well, that's a great way to look at it because, I mean, just like you said, control what you can, right? And the rest, just leave it up to God and then things will happen. Because if one thing we've learned from the pandemic is that plans never always work. So do what you can and the rest, leave it up to Him. Well, Durva, I mean, we did say that we're going to speak all the way till tomorrow, the next day morning. But my final question to you is I cannot not ask you because you were excited on that Wednesday night when you got a call from the national team. Please tell us that experience. How was it like? And also, working alongside later with the under 17, the under 19, alongside Alex Ambrose, somebody who you've known, fellow Mumbaiker again. Please take us through that. And I think that would be a great way to end the show.
So I think this is a great question. One of the really cool things is that Alex coached me. And that's where I really knew him really well. I worked with him at IFS. And that's where when I started off in the middle, I don't know when actually, at some point when we were talking about, I think, the licenses, and I said, just focus on being good, doing your work, and you never know where that can lead into. And so yeah, that's kind of where my experience with Alex came in, and it was super because we'd worked together. It had gone really well, and then we kind of fell out of touch because I was in England doing my masters, and then it just life happened, so we went out of touch. But those relationships, those workflows, the fact that we had such a great working relationship when we worked at IFS, that still stays with you, right? So you never know when these things comes full circle and where things turn up. And I think it's just really important to really sometimes zoom out and say, you don't know what's going to happen. Just keep doing what you can. But then again, about the experience with the national team, unparalleled. It is such a phenomenal experience. I remember my first game with the team. We were on the sideline, and the national anthem plays, and the kids are lined up, and oh my goodness, I had goosebumps because that feeling just never goes. And you see, it's just I can't even explain it. It's just fantastic. It's such a great experience. um, but you know what stays with you more than that experience for me is just the relationships, the way that people just come together. Um, and a lot of those girls that we were with in the national team for under 17 and 19 are now with the senior team, and it's just amazing. And we're so lucky. At least I feel so lucky to have even been a part of that. I feel lucky to have just been even with them for 2 months because it made such an impact on my life, and it's so amazing. And I know it sounds cheesy again, but honestly, national team, that feeling you get is just unparalleled when you put on that jersey. It's just amazing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I think the beauty of working now at Young Champs again is also just that, right? You know that you're a part of their lives, and you have no idea where they're going next. You don't have any idea where you're going next, who ends up where in life. But just to be a part of people's lives, even for a little bit, and have such a massive impact on their lives, and have them have such a massive impact on your life is kind of what I love most about this job. And now that I moved into performance, so it's still a lot of coaching, and it's still just the same thing that brings me back every day. So I think the biggest thing is just that those relationships, that impact that they have on your lives, it just stays with you forever, and it changes you, and hopefully for the better. For me, it's always changed me for the better because I believe in trying to be like them. But it's just fantastic. It will change your life in the best way possible. And I just hope that I hope I get those experiences for the rest of my life always.
Well, congratulations on a great period of time that you've spent in Indian football and otherwise in world football. Not to say that you're done here, but you're just starting out. So, all the very best for what's coming ahead. I have nothing but the best. May all good things come your way. And yes, 6 months down the line, when we sit, we are counting 6 months because that's when the course will get done. But that's not to say that our next catch up will be then. Hopefully sooner than the previous time. Durva, thank you so much for taking your time. And it was I must tell the listeners, this was short notice. I was supposed to record with another guest, but they backed out, and I just had to drop in to Durva, right? And she was, I mean, I've been wanting to get her, but I was like, should I not? Thinking a lot of other things as well, which I cannot say it here. But I'm finally happy that I got you, and thank you so much for coming on that short notice.
I just basically, you just told everybody that I was your replacement option, but it's cool. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. I obviously love chatting with you. I think this is also just such a fun time to catch up. And like you said, hopefully next time will be a lot sooner.
Yeah, I mean, you were the better replacement and the best replacement. I hope our next guest does not listen to this episode that I said this.
Yes.
But yeah, like I said, right, there are things that I can't say on the show of why probably I got you a little late. So anyway, it's better late than never. So thank you once again, Durva, and to all the lovely listeners, thank you so much. Continue to show your support and love to Durva and to our show, the Totally Indian Football Show. I hope you enjoyed the previous two episodes. We had Sharda and Mr. Sini Moedin. I hope you enjoyed this one as well. Share with all your friends, your folks, everyone in Indian football, especially if you want to do sports scientists, want to know what it is. Please, this is a girl. Go to her. You can probably message her, get in touch with her, make her your mentor if you want to. But thank you so much once again, and please do follow and subscribe to the show. I'm your host Saju, and you are listening to the Totally Indian Football Show. Thank you.